Alrighty, YouTube, welcome. Bit of an impromptu live. Obviously been a lot of stuff going on, so I thought I'd jump on and say g'day to everyone, but it's going to take a bit for you guys to turn up here. So I'm only talking now for the people that are watching this who missed the live itself. So anyway, g'day to you if you missed the live. If you are about to join me in the live, there we go. We've got a few people starting to come in. I'll give everyone a bit of a moment. Tito, g'day brother. Matthew, g'day. Good to see you guys. It's been ages since I've been on a live YouTube feed, so I thought it was overdue. I don't have anything particular that I want to say. I just wanted to kind of touch base with you guys and see where the conversation goes and answer your questions, that sort of stuff. Obviously, there's some big stuff going on at the moment in terms of what's happening with myself and Rob. Yeah, so that is what I'm assuming most of you guys are going to want to know about. All right. Dankius. G'day, brother. Keyless. John. I'm a king. Am I saying that right? I don't know. I'm king. I am a king. I'm Imi king. I'm king. Good afternoon to you. Anyway. So there we go. The first question that's happening. Is the match official yet? From Theodore Medenovic. Theodore, the match is not official yet. But the good news is there's been a bit of a pause on the trash talk, a bit of a pause on just the back and forth between Rob and I, and that is because negotiations are happening. So I reached out to Neil Pickup. I thought Neil Pickup would be a good man to be an intermediary between myself and Rob, because Rob's not on Messenger all that often. It's hard to get in contact with Rob, in my experience. So instead of trying to contact Rob directly, I've contacted Neil. And I've explained to Neil kind of the business plan as to how I see it going about coming to this point of getting a match. And Neil has spoken to Rob, and Rob has said, yep, willing to talk. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at a willing to talk phase. And the next step, you guys probably picked up that I'm after Dubai. Dubai is where all the attention is at the moment. Larry's obviously doing a great job there. And it's got better COVID restrictions than other places, so we can actually have events in Dubai, which is pretty cool. So Dubai is where we're aiming for. Should we be able to get this over the line? That's what we're going to be probably pushing to head to. So Neil is going to assist with communications between myself and Rob and getting it to a point where we're in agreement. But the good news is, from what I've been told back from Neil, now I haven't spoken to Rob personally yet myself, but what I've heard back from Neil so far is that Rob is interested and he's willing to talk about the proposals that I put forward through Neil to Rob. So, why don't I join Uncle John on ARM TV now? I wasn't even aware that ARM TV was live right now. Anyway, I'm here, so you got me here. Let me have a look. I didn't realize they were on. Sorry, ARM TV, if I steal some of the viewers. Do I believe I'm ready for Rob? Neil Cass has asked me that. Yeah, of course I do. I very much genuinely believe I'm ready for Rob. The reason I'm certain of that, now, although I've never touched Rob's hand, I have met Rob. I have watched him pull, and I met him at Pittsburgh at 501. So what was it? Who did he pull? He pulled Craig Touye. I watched him pull Craig Touye, and he won that match 3-2. I really do believe I'm ready for Rob. The reason being, I believe my style. I believe I have a window of style that can handle Rob. And I don't think Rob's style is going to deny access to my power. So I have enough versatility in my game that I think I can find a lane where I get to be in my power. Once there, I think the battle will be an interesting battle. And I think that the lane that I will be able to make the match settle in is a lane that Rob isn't particularly keen to fighting. And if I can make it about that lane, if I can make it about a long grinding match, endurance, really isolate side pressure. I know Rob isn't particularly a side pressure puller. He's a conventional containment based puller, back pressure, cupping, pronation, all that sort of stuff. That's his style of arm wrestling, and it's something that I can work with quite well. Now, the other reason outside of style is size and strength. I mentioned that I've met Rob. Now, if you guys have never seen Rob and I standing next to each other, you'll probably be a little surprised. A lot of the time when people meet me for the first time or see me in a room for the first time, it's super common that I get the first comment from people being, "Wow, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were." My body shape doesn't look particularly impressive on videos and photos. I don't have that Lachlan Adair, Rob Vigent bicep shape. I don't look bulky, but when you see me standing next to Rob, you'll see that I'm just generally thicker than Rob. I'm taller than Rob. Rob's waist is thin, his legs are tiny, and his arms, sure, their biceps are big, but the frame wise, it's just not quite the same. I believe my wrist is bigger than Rob's, and so when you see someone in the room next to you as an arm wrestler, you often get a sense of whether they're physically just a more dominant human than you. You always get that. Now, obviously, you make assessments, and sometimes you get them right, sometimes you get them wrong. But when I stood in a room with Rob, I can say, this is just honestly what I felt, that I didn't feel, oh my goodness, look at this guy. I felt quite the opposite. I was like, no, he looks kind of normal, and I think I'd be all right. The match would be good. So Rob was actually smaller than I thought. Hey, we've got a super chat from Jake and Jess. Sorry, Jake and Jake makes $5. Thank you, brother. Saying good luck, buddy. You believe I can beat RVJ? Thanks, man. It means a lot. Yeah. So when I saw Rob in a room for the first time, I remember thinking honestly that, okay, Rob's not as big as I thought he was going to be, because he is like that Lachlan Adair style body. Looks amazing in photos. Looks amazing on camera. You think, how on earth is that dude the weight he is? Because they just look giant. So Rob's got that image about him, and when, like I said, you put us next to each other in the room, and yeah, I'm 6'1.5". I'm just short of 6'2", and I don't know what Rob is, 6 foot at best or something like that. He's not that tall. 5'11" wouldn't surprise me. I don't actually know how tall Rob is, but I know he's not 6'2". Yeah. So that's one reason. And the other thing is then the Lachlan Adair factor. I'm really blessed that I get to train with someone who I believe is genuinely stronger than Rob in every respect. Rob has more experience than Lachlan, but I truly 100% believe Lachlan is stronger than Rob in every single sense of arm wrestling. Every fundamental, I believe he has Rob by margin. The back pressure bicep strength is fairly similar. I think Lachlan only just pips him by 5 pounds here or there on each time they lift. I've seen them both do strict curl before with a barbell, and they both lifted 82 kilos. No worries. The single arm curl, again, similar numbers, but Lachlan just slightly ahead. Lachlan at the end of the day is a bigger version of someone very similar to Rob. Lachlan's like one between 108 kilos and 112 kilos. So he is the same style of genetic body as Rob, just bigger and just stronger. So getting to train with someone like that, and Lachlan also is a containment-based arm wrestler. So getting to train with Lachlan is very similar to what I believe Rob will feel like. I believe I'm fast. I believe Lachlan is faster than Rob. I believe Rob has probably more pronation than Lachlan. But in a wrist flexion sense, in a back pressure sense, in a elbow integrity sense, I believe Lachlan's superior to Rob. So for me to get to train against Lachlan makes a big difference. And I can tell you Lachlan's very much beatable. Lachlan and I in a match is an uncertainty. We don't know which way that goes. Lachlan has the power generally in the early rounds, but he fades really fast. And that's kind of the opposite of Rob. Rob is a slow starter and probably comes home with a wet sail. So there's a few differences between Lachlan and Rob, but I do believe that there is enough similarities that I have the perfect training partner. Rob doesn't have that. Rob doesn't have a person in his training crew that arm wrestles like I do. So he's not getting that same opportunity to prepare to the degree that in which I am. So I believe that to be one of the big factors as to why I think I could beat Rob. So let me have a look. Your comments have been flying by as I've been chatting. I missed a whole bunch. Man, there's been heaps. What's the travel restrictions out of Australia? From John S. John, travel restrictions getting out of Australia at the moment is a little tricky, but it's something that can be done. If you're booking only 1 month to 2 months in advance, prices are crazy because there's only very limited flights out of Australia, so prices are through the roof just simply by supply and demand. If you book 3 to 4 months out in advance, prices go back to normal. So in terms of a price sense, I can get to Dubai 3 to 4 months from today with normal sort of $1,500 flights, which is fine. The tricky part about Australian border restrictions at the moment is not getting out, but getting home. When you attempt to come home, I will have to do 2 weeks mandatory quarantine in a hotel at my expense. It's a hotel designated by the Australian government, and I don't have a choice. I'd have to stay in that room for 2 weeks. So I would be doing a lot of YouTube lives chatting with you guys as I'm torturously sitting in a hotel. But for an opportunity like this, it's worth it. An opportunity to get to Dubai and have such a match like this, which I believe truly could be something that's changes the way the arm wrestling world is viewed and presented, and changes the way in which arm wrestling moves forward from here. I'm a really big believer that arm wrestling has an opportunity throughout this COVID period to actually evolve into the next chapter. I think you look at the history of the sport. There's been a lot of significant chapters in the way that the sport is presented to the world, and we're about to enter a new phase. Thanks to COVID and thanks to the unfortunate circumstances where leagues have just not been able to put together seasons, and that evolution is, of course, the online evolution, the individual athlete evolution, where we take control of our own matches, we take control of our own promotions, and we make something of it. There are big YouTube channels out there that are interested in arm wrestling. We have Arm Wrestling TV from Alex Bezyaskov. We have Larry Wheels, with both of those over the 1 million mark, and Devin Larratt at 350,000. These channels are all making significant money. And by significant money, I'm talking really significant money. You guys know I've talked about this objective of getting $50,000 on the line for this match. A channel that is 1 million plus can do that, most certainly. It really can. How those channels spend that money, it's really, obviously it's up to them as an individual, but it kind of points to the fact that if you can grow a YouTube channel as an arm wrestler to that level, which we've now seen is possible, then you can make very, very, very significant professional level money, starting to be on par with sports stars of all the other big sports that we've always loved to watch. Now, arm wrestling, when you're not at that stage of the 1 million plus, it's more tricky. But the good news is there's ways and means about it, and that's kind of something that I want to be able to demonstrate through third-party advertising and opportunities. We have enough of an audience that it's still viable. So that's kind of my goal with the promotional side of things. And hey, I'm just going to pause. Danaroo, another super chat. Thank you, Danaroo, brother. It makes my day. It really does mean a lot when you guys directly support it. It shows me that you guys believe in what I'm doing and pushing to try to make this sport bigger and better. So thank you, Danaroo. All right, let me have a look through some more comments again. Someone has said side pressure is going to be my best weapon against Rob, but even Toddzilla can't handle Rob a lot of the time. Yeah, that's true. It's a very interesting comparison if you look at Toddzilla and how he shaped up against Rob compared to how I would shape up against Rob. So I think it's safe to say that Todd's got more side pressure than me. Even when it is middleweight Todd, he's going to have more side pressure than me. But I've got some things that Todd doesn't have, and mainly in the sense of leverage. So Todd, if elbow to wrist on me, I'm 2 inches longer than Todd. Todd has a very short forearm. It's one of the reasons why his side pressure is so significant, but it's also one of the reasons why he has to use it. He doesn't have the ability through leverage to really pronate that much, to gain any height over someone like Rob, which changes things. Where for me, I'm taller than Rob, my arm's longer than Rob's. Even though his hand is bigger, my elbow to wrist is longer. So that means that my side pressure is going to be coming from a greater height, which means it's going to have more effect on Rob. So even though Todd Hutchins has a greater force output in his side pressure specifically, it's not doesn't necessarily mean that Rob's going to be able to contain my side pressure any easier than he could contain Rob's. Of course, coming from that greater height gives me the opportunity to really attack with a hand as well. My pronation is actually always been my biggest threat. Pronation has been my biggest weapon from the beginning of my journey in the sport. And so when you talk about my side pressure, if the match stops, then you'll see me start to become the defensive arm wrestler that you've always seen up until this point. So side pressure is really an initiation for me to really open Rob's arm up, open Rob's angle up, and get it to the point where I can then commence a squeeze or commence defensive arm wrestling. But I'd be commencing that from a position where his arm is already open. So it'd be a lot for Rob to pull back from there. It'd be a lot of fatigue on his arm to do that over 6 rounds. And that's what the match would be as well. It would be a 6-round super match. And if it is for big money, we need to have a definite winner. So let's say it's 3-3. If it is 3-3 in that scenario, we don't just have a silver bullet 7th round, because I'm not a fan of matches, especially big matches, being determined by buckles or being determined by good sides of the table, because a referee has got a tendency to allow one side an easier setup. So for me, it'd be first person to lead by 2. Okay, so 6 rounds and first person to lead by 2, if it ends up at 3-3, would be the format for that match. Just having a look through some more comments again. From Chris Matheson, Ryan, in terms of preparation, how would your training change if the match with Rob is to be booked? Good question, Chris. For me, the answer to that is simply that I would be 100% laser focused on this match. And now, for me, when I prepare for a match, okay, it's all about I go down to very, very small detail in preparation for a match. Okay, I'm not going to look at generic strength. Okay, the fundamental strengths I'm no longer going to start working on. I'm going to work on the critical strength. And what I mean by the critical strength is, in every match, there's a position where the match is won and lost. Okay, doesn't matter. Sometimes it's right in the center. Sometimes it's at a sticking point. But inevitably, there is always a moment in every single match that you will ever pull where you either win it or lose it. And there is a critical pressure that completes that story. Everything prior to that critical pressure, the match was still in the balance, and it could have gone either way. But there's always a moment. There's always a position. There's always a critical element to every match that determines who the winner will be. So when I'm preparing for a very specific opponent, I study and search and research and rehearse identifying that critical moment. And this is where I come in as an adaptive arm wrestler. This is why I often lose round 1 and then go on and win the match. It's because my approach to a match is not to be strong, but to be deadly accurate in where I'm going to be strong. And for me, in preparation for Rob, I'll be doing exactly that process. I'm not going to say what I think that process is here, because that would mean I'd be doing all the hard work for Rob, and he would also go, oh, that's the critical moment. I agree. I'm going to make that particular moment stronger. So I think it would come down for me identifying the critical moment in the match, on the shape of the match, and then making that little critical moment. It might be something with a little twist, it might be a little rise, it might be a little chop, might be a little shoulder increase just at a certain moment. Whatever that smallest moment is, I would work that like crazy. And I would take that little critical moment up 10, 20%. Because you'll find that when you focus on anything individually, you can really, just through neurological efficiency, increase your force output. Now, we're not talking about making new muscle. We're talking about increasing efficiency. Naturally, if you go and brush your teeth with your left hand, you feel like an idiot for the first week. But after 2 weeks of doing it, you feel normal and in the groove. So it's the same thing. Identify the critical stopping area that will determine the winner of the match, and become incredibly efficient in that little moment. So when the match comes, bang, there it is. Now, of course, there's layers to this. When you've never gripped someone before, all of this is a guess. You have to guess. You have to research. You have to watch videos. You have to study. And you have to guess. Now, I will guess my best effort, but what makes me a good supermatch arm wrestler is not my guessing ability to get that right. It's my ability to feel and adapt in round 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So if round 1 goes wrong and I don't win it, don't count me out. Please don't count me out. In fact, it's the best time to bet on me is after round 1 when I'm down 1-0. That is the best return you'll ever get on me. John Brzenk bet Eric Wolf. I think he bet him $500 or something at WAL 504. When I was down 1-0 against Alan Guerra, John looked over at Eric on the other side of the room and said, "Let's go. Bet right now." They took the bet, and the rest is history. You know who won. So after round 1, the reason why I think I have a good chance again on Rob is simply because this is how I arm wrestle. I'm not a silver bullet guy. I'm not a develop one ace guy. I am a develop the counter attack to every shape kind of guy. So I will feel what Rob brings at me in round 1, and I will adapt. And unless he has an ability to refine and change and evolve within the match itself faster than I can, then I'm going to be a step ahead. Now, when you are a step ahead in a match, what that does for you is that you get to arm wrestle more efficiently. Often people confuse it with endurance, like physical endurance. It's not so much physical endurance, but it's you lead the dance and they are feeling a whole lot more lactic acid build up at a faster rate than you are, simply because of your superior ability to move and stay ahead of the curve. So that for me is another factor as to why I believe I can beat Rob. I believe I execute that a hell of a lot better than Rob does. It's hard to be the strong guy. Rob's always been the strong guy, and being the strong guy means that you don't often have to think this way. And when you aren't forced to think this way, you get ultimately complacent and you become comfortable in your own strength, and you become comfortable in thinking you've got everything you need to win. So being the weak guy, like I have been my entire arm wrestling career, I've always taken on people significantly stronger than me. And let's be honest, Rob's stronger than me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to beat him. Being in that position has always been an advantage for me because it's made me think this way my entire progression. And like I said, if you go and chart back all of my matches in my arm wrestling career, the people I am balanced with have always been stronger than me. So this isn't about strength when it comes to who's going to win this match, Rob and I. It's really not. It's about execution more than it is about strength. And even though Rob has been arm wrestling for a decade longer than I have, his experience isn't the right kind of experience. His experience is being strong. My experience is being weak. So I think that's going to help me when it comes to the execution side of the match. All right, I'm going to read some more comments again, see what's going on. People say I'm going to have to flash him. No, flashing is not what I need to do. Other athletes are too afraid to leave an organization. What guaranteed pay-per-view YouTube will make in the long-term profit? Yeah. Keyless 1 to 3. You're going to get one of the pound-for-pound arm warmers. Brother, you'll love them. They are really nice. Do you think Prime John? We're not going to answer John questions. John and Levan. I could definitely see the first round being a flash for Ryan, the second being a close stop, then Rob securing things and ultimately winning. Josh from Josh Cleland. It's an interesting perspective, man. Rob is always a slow starter, mentally, physically. He takes a round or two to really ramp up, and we've seen that if you look at his most recent outing against Justin Bishop. I would definitely look to take control of that and advantage of that. But if a flash happens, I actually kind of don't want a flash to happen because in a flash I don't get the feel. So round 2, it's a guess again. So I would kind of prefer if you see me round 1 hit and get control, I won't hit to the pad. I won't. I'll stop. I'll stop an inch above it, and I'll even give stuff back. If I'm in a position where I could have flashed him, I will not take it. Not in round 1. I'll do it in the later rounds if it's possible. But round 1, I will not flash Rob, even if it is possible. And it's simply because I would want to stop 1 inch above, and I would sell Rob and convince Rob of the story that he's in the match and that he can bring it back from there. And pride will be on the line. Rob, after all the talk that he said, he's not going to want to lose. He's not going to want to lose a round, let alone the match. So Rob's ego, pride, whatever you want to call it, will make him fight. and I will give him just enough sense through my hand and wrist that he's in the fight, that he will. And if it's from a position where I'm in control and where I've got the leverage and his arm is open and his bicep is exposed, then I'm going to take every opportunity to bleed that. Like I said, I'll give him space to allow that to happen. Now, I will even go as far as I'll give him space and I might accidentally give him too much. He might overwhelm me and win that round one. But still, I would prefer to do that. I'd prefer to be down 1-0 and having had Rob pull back from a horrible position and exhaust himself than for me to just simply flash pin him round one. Flash pin doesn't put a lot of work on Rob's arm. If I get a position that is advantageous, I will grind that man's arm down and make that valuable opportunity worth as much as I possibly can. So no flashing round one. Someone's asking, would the hammer be on the line? The answer, no, the hammer would not be on the line. This won't be a WAL match. This will be an independent promotion between myself and Rob. If this happens, there definitely will not be a hammer on the line. When is the match going to be held? Okay, so the when is a good question. As I've mentioned a couple of times, I want to do it in Dubai. I've reached out. I've spoken to Michael Todd, and I haven't spoken directly to Larry, but I've spoken to Larry through Michael so far. And we would like, there's a few options. I don't want to say too much, but there's options. Obviously, Michael is pushing for an event over there as well. We all know Michael wants to pull the van, and he's pushing for that. He's doing what he can in the background, just regardless of what PAL is saying. That match, Michael and Van, may happen. If it was to happen, this would be a wonderful undercard to that. And so, talking with Michael, there's a lot of ifs on his side with the Levan thing. There's obviously a lot of ifs on my side still because it's early days with this Rob thing. But that is one option, is to simply double up and work with Michael and Levan as an undercard to that match. That is an option. And like I said, super early days, super unknown as to whether it can happen. But that is something that we could look at. Another thing, if time's down the line, if Michael's thing with Levan isn't coming together, all that sort of stuff, I don't want to cancel what we have with Rob because of that. So it would be something I would look to do anyway. Now, if that is the case, I would still look to have it in Dubai. I would still look to work with Larry. Larry having such a significant reach in the world of arm wrestling and strength. I believe a match promoted through Larry's channel, through my channel, through Rob's channel, over there with some third-party sponsors could be a great event. Even if it is a low-key event, the digital side of it would not be low-key at all. So that is another option. And the when on those things, the when, I want to work, I'm aiming for a somewhere between 4 to 6 months from today option. That's what I would like to achieve on this. It is regarding all of the parameters of the match, they're to be negotiated. Rob threw out his 50 grand thing, drug tested thing. Largely, he threw that out as a deterrent, in my belief. So when I accepted that, he was kind of, I think, probably taken by surprise. Not many people expected. That was kind of just a bullying tactic to try to say, here, go away. But like I said, I think that we can make a substantial amount of money on the line for this match, and I think we're going to get there. So the match in those sorts of parameters, it won't be as per what Rob originally said. Rob's not going to put $50,000 up of his own money. No, he's not going to do that. It's going to be just a significant amount of money raised through my business first and foremost, and the third-party sponsors that I'll be able to achieve for that, and the winner takes all. So the goal is $50,000. We'll see if we can get there. But hey, whatever we can get there, it's going to be big. It's going to be bigger money than Rob's ever pulled for before, bigger money than I've ever pulled for before. And the winner's going to take all of it, and it's going to happen in Dubai. That is what we're aiming for. All right, look at some more comments. Don't you prefer going after Justin Bishop first? Yeah, good question, Justin Bishop. G'day, Justin, if you're watching this video. Justin. Okay, here's why I'm not calling out Justin. Big fan of Justin Bishop. My history with Justin, obviously, 2017, I brought him to Australia. He was my first ever exposure to the international professional standard, and Justin beat me 6-0. That was a learning process for me. The reason that match happened was for the same reasons I'm calling out Rob. At the time, I had no permission, no right, not even everyone was belittling that match, and it was all said that it was a waste of time. But since then, I've always used matches and opportunities as a way to grow. And I paid for Justin to come out. I paid Justin to be there, and we had the match. And I learnt and I grew from it. Having an opportunity to pull Justin again has always been big on my list. It was my request to WAL always. I didn't want to pull BLM. I wanted to pull Justin. And the match was given me and BLM, and I was told basically if I beat BLM, I'll face Justin after that. And so I've wanted a match with Justin, and I would love a match with Justin. The reason I'm not chasing Justin right now is body weight. And my body weight is 97, 98 kilos right now. Justin's body weight, I believe, is like 84, 85. Now, this is not to say that an 84 kilo Justin Bishop is not a killer. I'm sure he is. And I'm sure a match between he and I would always be good, no matter what. But I'm interested in chasing people that are in control of the weight divisions that I'm in. So I would be able to be, I think Rob's walking around right now at almost 215 pounds or something. So we're essentially the same weight. And Rob's even been floating with the idea of getting heavier and moving up. I think he's self-professed holiday period of time. He's put on a bit of weight and he feels great, is what he's saying. So Rob and I might meet at 220 or something like that. And I think that would be a good place for both of us. And it's, like I said, it's no disrespect to Justin. I love Justin Bishop. Would always be happy to pull Justin Bishop. But this is about chasing the matches that are relevant to me. And when it comes to people saying, hey, Ryan, you're overstepping the mark, you're skipping all the other guys, Storm Chilinos, Jordan Sills, Justin Bishops, all those kind of guys. The thing is, guys, if it was in the WAL arena, yes, I agree. There's a ladder that I must climb before I get to Rob. But this is not in the WAL arena. And Justin and Storm and all those guys, they're not offering money on the table to pull Rob. They're not doing it. So that is why I get to skip that line. If any of those guys were to put down money on the table of this sort of nature, I'm sure Rob would pull them. So when money's on the line and it's being sourced independently, and I'm not asking Rob to put any on the line either, that's why I get to skip the line. And that's why I will skip the line. And that's why the match will happen. All right. What else we got? People are talking about Bitcoin. I don't know anything about Bitcoin, so maybe one day. Do you think you could beat John Brzenk right now? I like that question because of the time I spent with John. He actually described. John said to me, because I've talked very specifically with John about RVJ, and John has said to me that RVJ's hand strength is very similar to his own, and I believe that. When John tells me that RVJ's hand is almost as strong as his, I very much believe it. John also said to me that for me to beat RVJ, I would have to do the same things to him as I do to John. Now, whether you want to believe this or not, John Brzenk knows that there are certain spots in a match that he can't pin me and that I can pin him. And it's just about getting into those lanes. In a side pressure sense, John is someone who doesn't have a lot of side pressure due to his shoulder injury. He's very much, like I said, the pure pronation and wrist flexion based arm wrestler. I think Rob Vigent's back pressure is more than John's, but John's hand is what it is, and it's what made him the greatest. So there are avenues where I've trained with John, and I know that John can't pin me if we're in this certain lane. And it'd be those same lanes that I would look to get to on Rob. So Interesting question there. Could I beat John Brzenk right now? I don't think I could beat John simply off the go, simply because of his hand is too dangerous. And John actually has some speed about him. I think Rob, comparatively to John, is a very different beast off the start. There's much more opportunity to get in the lane against Rob than there is against John. All right, looking for some more. Someone's asked me, what's my day job? You're looking at it. All right. Just having a look. Has Toddzilla said anything about my match with RVJ? What did, hang on. Let me just check something. Where is he? Yeah, he talked about the first round with me. He talked about the fact that Rob is lousy in the first round and to make sure that I utilize that opportunity best. So, yeah, that's what Todd said. Does Rob really put little training into his arm wrestling? It's a question that I don't know the answer to, but it does raise a very valid point about a lot of what's going on. Rob likes to joke about my trajectory and likes to say that, oh yeah, Ryan's trajectory is always like this. It's like SpaceX. It's always going up. And even though he's saying that tongue in cheek, there's a lot of truth to it. There is a lot of truth to it. Rob has been pulling for a decade longer than I have, and he's been at the level that he's at for a long time. There isn't really much changing about Rob's position in the world of arm wrestling. He's more likely to simply maintain his position whilst ever he's active. He doesn't need to train that hard to maintain that position. Once a week is going to be sufficient. Once a week table time, once a week in the gym, whatever it is he's doing, I don't know, but it is sufficient, and he's proven that it's sufficient because he's maintained that position in the world rankings for a long time. Then we look at me comparatively. I haven't been at the top of the world rankings ever, and I'm obviously clearly still in the process of chasing that rank. My trajectory is better than his. I train more than him, undoubtedly. Rob self admits that. I train completely. This is my job. As someone asked before, what is my day job? Arm wrestling is my job. I think about it daily. I train daily. I get more table time than Rob by a mile. And I generally am more committed to bettering myself than Rob. And that's just, again, Rob will agree with that. So when we talk about trajectories, yes, I'm clearly on a more significant trajectory than Rob. And the question is has my trajectory reached his yet? That's what we're going to find out. All right, just reading some more comments. People asking, are you planning any more matches in Australia despite the Ryan Scott and Brett Coote cancellations? Yeah, I'm actually going to South Australia this weekend. So unless the state laws change, which they do very often, it's what killed my match with Ben Carroll. Unless the state laws change, I'll be traveling to Adelaide this weekend to pull a tournament down there. All right. Heaps of comments. I'm just having a read through, trying to pick out some. My eyes are going blurry. Apparently, ArmTV is talking about me right now. Cool. Let me just keep going. I might jump over to ArmTV after I finish here if they want me. Someone's saying, I think Rob knew you'd take the match, so he threw out 50K because he knows you're hungry and driven and would do whatever it takes to make it happen. He'll get a hell of a fat payday. Yeah, he might get a hell of a fat payday. And, you know, the thing about it is, guys, if Rob does get a hell of a fat payday, that's good. A lot of you make the mistake of thinking that's going to hurt me. It's not. I'm not going to go into this match and lose $50,000 from my personal bank account. It's not going to happen. I'm in a business. I'm going to make sure there is a comparative value that even if I lose the cash, that the value in business growth, the value in networking, the value in establishing sponsors for future events, the value will be there. So my worst case scenario is I'm willing to take a little bit of a loss so that if I miss the 50K, I'm going to have, I don't know, 35K worth of sponsorships plus the future value. So it's, oh, thank you. My beautiful fiance has just saved my eyes. Now I can read your comments again. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm not going to lose 50K from my pocket. That'd be dumb. And that's just, it's not how it works. So I'm clearly someone who is going to build enough. And yes, if Rob is the beneficiary of this, then hats off to him. And I would love nothing more than for Rob to walk away with 50 grand and going, wow, I just made more money in arm wrestling than I've ever made before. And because that's going to then set a precedent for the rest of the arm wrestling world. Rob's then going to say, how do we do that? How did Ryan pull that off? The rest of the arm wrestling world is going to look at it the same way. And they're going to then come to the party and actually want to do this thing more often. And it's going to start changing the way the arm wrestling world works. And this brings us all the way back to that first point about the PAL and the WAL not being able to get a season away. We need to take control of our own brands and our values within our brands and put together matches. And so if Rob walks away with 50K, it's not a loss to me. I will progress as an arm wrestler, having faced Rob. I will grow in the sport in my influence. My business will grow. I will have better networking. I'll have equal value to that 50 grand in place. That's what I'm determined to do. And that's what makes this even possible. And so there's no point in ridiculing me saying, yada, 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 you're going to lose the money. All right. Okay. I don't know if these questions that I'm reading are kind of after the fact of what I've discussed or before, but a question there, if you could be impartial, why should Rob even pull you? Wouldn't Irakli or Sasho be a better match? If we're talking just arm wrestling, yes, you're right. If there's no money on the table, yes, you're right. Go and pull another Eastern European that has the same credentials as Rob does. But this is not the circumstances that we're in here. We're talking about promotional value and we're talking about money on the table, and whether the arm wrestling deserves it or not, Rob will choose this as an option because there is a chance for him to win $50,000. If Sasho offers him the same thing, I'm sure he'll pick Sasho. But Sasho isn't doing this at the moment, so nor is Irakli. Simple. Oh man, there's so many comments I can't keep up. How much better do you consider your current level compared to a year or two ago? Absolutely different beast. Oh my goodness. The version of me that was at Zloty is a baby compared to what my elbow can do now, the conditioning I have. Oh my goodness. So different. All right. I definitely can't keep up with these comments. I apologize. So I'm just scrolling. I'm just scrolling essentially down to the bottom now, which means I'm going to see the most recent comments only. So do forgive me if I skipped over you. If you had a good question, I apologize. I missed it. Yeah, ultimately, the goal is to boost the arm wrestling promotional value within the world and show the sport that it can be done. I think that we can get there, just like the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. This is the angle. This is two people that have never fought before in an environment that's outside a league that is just going to show the world that we can actually do it and actually bring dollars to the sport. That's the goal. Bring dollars to the sport. My mission from the beginning of my journey has been twofold. One, to become an elite arm wrestler myself, and two, to grow a business that could facilitate others, as many as possible, to have arm wrestling be their career in a financial sense. So this is a big step towards that, and that is the main goal. So yeah, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this one. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a good 45-minute chat. I had no idea what we're going to talk about, but I enjoyed it. So, guys, as always, I wanted to thank you for supporting this. This match really can only come to life with the support of the internet and you guys. So I do appreciate that. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And please go and recruit 10 of your buddies that haven't subscribed. Subscribers are the most powerful thing that I can do for getting the third-party sponsorships over the line. So the more subscribers, the easier my job is. And I'll squeeze every bit of value out of this and make arm wrestling a new chapter. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to jump on. I'm going to message the Arm TV guys. I want to have a chat with them, see what they're talking about. And so if you want to see me, head on over there.